Fox News alert. President Biden's job approval ratings have taken a significant hit and fallen to a record low as Americans turn against the president after the deadly and disastrous withdrawal from Afghanistan. Two brand new national surveys reveal a majority of Americans are not happy with our commander-in-chief, and analysts are warning his approval numbers are entering dangerous territory. This is Outnumbered. I'm Kayleigh McEnany. Here today, my co-host, Emily Compagno, Julie Banderas, Fox News contributor and syndicated radio host, Leslie Marshall, and in the center virtual seat, Dan Hoffman, Fox News contributor and former CIA station chief and director of the CIA Middle East region. A new NPR PBS Marist poll shows the president's job approval rating has dropped 6 points in a single month to 43%. The lowest number for Biden since he took office. His disapproval rating, not surprisingly, shot up 7 points to 51%. The poll also shows a majority of independents now disapprove of the job the president's doing, with a 10-point drop. And that is bad news for Biden and the Democrats. Independents are a key swing group that Biden won in 2020. A separate ABC News Washington Post poll also showing how the president's job approval rating has taken a substantial hit, plummeting to 44%. That's the second poll. And the new polls should scare Democrats. How the public thinks about President Biden will be the single biggest indicator of how the 2022 midterm elections will turn out. Emily, coming to you. So this is not one national poll, two national polls. NPR has them at 43%, Washington Post at 44%. And when you break it down, Emily, it's falling on COVID, it's falling on the economy, it's falling on crime, it's falling on Afghanistan. I mean, this is just total and complete free fall, on almost every single issue.
Because he is failing on every single issue, Kayleigh. He is absolutely failing on every issue that impacts every American, whether it's at their kitchen table or on a more broad sense. And who's surprised? I mean, he abandoned Americans. He abandoned allies, women, orphans, working dogs, and he absolutely crushed what should have been 20 years with a dignified ending. After this disastrous pullout, the support for the war was only 36% of Americans. And while 77% obviously supported the withdrawing, over 60% disapproved of the disastrous, chaotic withdrawal. And I have to point out as well that when we talk about the Americans left behind, a community liaison member who's working on behalf of a community, an entire school district to get students back to America, unlike the president, he called them invisible families. Even the DOD spokesperson said, "I am heartbroken over the Americans left behind." However, the president pulled out, and that arbitrary deadline he set for himself showed zero compassion, zero empathy, or zero cognition of that fact that resonated to every American's heart. It is a disaster, it is reprehensible, and these poll numbers reflect so.
Dan, we know that the vast majority of Americans did not want to leave their fellow Americans behind. We've seen that in the polling. And all of this taken together on Afghanistan, what it translates to is a paltry 26% in the Washington Post poll. 26% that approve of the way President Biden got out of Afghanistan. Your thoughts?
Yeah, so we've got two significant concerns about Afghanistan right now. The first are the citizens we left behind, U.S. citizens, and also the Afghan SUV holders. And one of them was a translator who saved then Senator Biden's life back in 2008 when his Black Hawk helicopter went down. So those things are really critical right now for this administration. The second thing is that the terrorist problem is going to persist and only get worse. Afghanistan is morphing into a terrorist state where ISIS and al-Qaeda will operate with impunity and enjoy the sanctuary that the Taliban are giving them. So those things, I think, are going to persist for the Biden administration and for the president in particular, because he was on the hook for making this decision. It's worth noting historically that President Carter's popularity plummeted to 20% during the Iran hostage crisis, and he wrote about that in his memoir and said he was just obsessed with getting them out for moral and ethical reasons, but it was certainly one of the real causes for why he lost in the 1980 election to President Reagan.
That's a fascinating parallel. You're saying it dropped to about 20% during the Iran hostage crisis, and here we have 26% for Biden on Afghanistan. So that's very distinct parallel there. Julie, and beyond Afghanistan, and as devastating as that is, the economy, what's so interesting, it's still a #2 issue on both COVID, which is a #1 issue, and the economy he's dropped. Economy, he's just getting a 39% approval rating, and this is before this devastating jobs report where we got 1/3 of the jobs we were supposed to get this month.
Yeah, only added 235,000 jobs. And he, in fact, spoke at the beginning of last hour and tried to justify it with COVID and the Delta variant. Now, COVID's been around for almost 2 years, folks. The Delta variant, yeah, it's a new variant, but nonetheless, COVID has been around for 2 years. And, you know, over the summer, jobs were up. What's the reason for jobs being down? He blames it on the Delta variant. But, you know, it's the blame game that really is bothersome to me. Rather than blaming things, why don't we just take responsibility? But accountability doesn't seem ever to be a top priority when it comes to justifying poor job numbers. Let's just call it what it is. And then he's also touting the fact that he's going to raise taxes on the people that are employing the middle class. I think it's great that he's not going to raise taxes for those people, working families making under $400,000 a year. But hey, if you own 2 or 3 jobs, we're coming after you, or 2 or 3 homes. The rich, the ones that actually employ you, they're going to suffer. And he was proudly mentioning that. He must have mentioned that like 3 times in his address earlier.
Yeah, and the American people not buying the blame game. I mean, that same Washington Post poll showing a majority placed the blame on Afghanistan squarely with the commander-in-chief, Joe Biden. But Leslie, all of these alarm bells have to be a bit worrisome to you. Indeed, it's worrisome to 2 other members of your party, Doug Schoen, Carly Cooperman, 2 Democrat pollsters, who wrote this in The Hill, quote, "The recent decline in support for President Biden and his administration likely means that the Democratic Party will lose control of the House and potentially the Senate in 2022, and makes it increasingly likely that Biden will be a one-term president." Leslie.
Well, although Doug and I share a D on our lapel, and I consider him a friend and have a lot of respect for my colleague, I would disagree. And the reason I disagree is Afghanistan is not top of mind for voters, and it certainly won't be as we get farther away from leaving Afghanistan. And hopefully we will have that 100 to 200 Americans who choose not to stay with family members there, but be brought home. When you look at this poll, it's largely about Afghanistan. When you look at these 2 polls, 71% of Americans feel that Afghanistan was a failure. They are split practically down the middle on how we could have done this. And the blame, as you rightly pointed out, Kayleigh, is placed on Biden. Will that translate to the Democrats running in House and Senate seats in November of 22? Here are some other issues, though, that are going to be problematic. And one is going to be coming out of Texas. Yesterday in California, we had more votes going in for Gavin Newsom that the early voting was showing in the state of California with the recall election after SB 8. And I think issues like that are going to be more worrisome. And also, speaking of Afghanistan, overwhelming majority, both Democrats and Republicans very strongly support Afghan refugees coming to the United States and being helped, and that we can't abandon them. And that is not the messaging for some Republicans that are going to be running in November 2022 in those House and Senate races. So I don't think that these 2 polls indicate that Democrats will lose control in the slim majority that they have in the House, or that they could break that tie or lose that tie in the Senate. Don't get me wrong, I'm not going to Vegas and saying we're picking up 40 seats or anything like that. But I don't think it's time to get out the razor blades to the wrists for Democrats in November 2022 as of yet.
But Leslie, let me ask you about that, though, because you have a slim majority in the House, 5 seats. These approval ratings are overall approval ratings. We've seen in 2 national polls the numbers sink. When you look at the right, are we going in the right direction? 23% say yes, according to Gallup. Notably, the number of Democrats saying we're going in the right direction has fallen from 63 to 39%. And a new survey out in the Washington Examiner showing in 24 of the 34 states where there are Senate races, Biden's approval is underwater. So you're not concerned. Overall, his approval is tanking.
Today, if the election would be held today, I would be concerned. But as you know, Kaylee, between today and November, it's a lifetime. I know it comes quick, but it is a lifetime. Look, I certainly hope that we're going to see better job numbers by November 2022, that crime will be reduced in certain areas in 2022, and God willing, COVID will be, behind us, and we won't see a lot of fallout from this new Mu variant, in addition to the Delta variant. And also, largely, a lot of blame, quite frankly, for COVID is being blamed on the state level, on governors. We're seeing that in numbers falling for Texas Governor Abbott and Florida's Governor Ron DeSantis.
Yeah, I don't think so. When you see President Biden once had a 60% approval on COVID, now down to the 50s, people know exactly where to put the blame. I know the Democrats like to play the blame game, but I think the American people are pointing right back at the President of the United States.